Now, speaking about world leaders and coronavirus infections, I'm going to have to bring up the ABC again. I touched on this last night, but it's another example I can't ignore of how we chuck in more than $1 billion every year to this broadcasting behemoth, and they just pump out misinformation, political propaganda, and frankly, anti-Australian tosh. Let me share the latest example. Many of you will know the actress Miriam Margolyes as Professor Sprout in the Harry Potter movies. She's had a long and successful acting career, and she's in London at the moment in isolation and feeling vulnerable, as she told the ABC last week.
People who are fat and who are old, we are in the vulnerable group. I also have asthma, which means I have an underlying illness. So if I get it, I'll die. So obviously I'm scared.
Well, Margolyes didn't really share those concerns about at least one other person. She created a stir in the UK when she said this about British Prime Minister Boris Johnson and his virus hospitalisation.
I had difficulty not wanting Boris Johnson to die. I wanted him to die. And then I thought, that reflects badly on me, and I don't want to be the sort of person who wants people to die. So then I wanted him to get better.
Just imagine if I'd said that about a politician. Just imagine if Alan Jones had said that about, I don't know, Jacinda Ardern. The outrage at the ABC would have been radioactive. But in this case, our national broadcaster only praises Margolyes because it's given her a job making a documentary series about Australia.
Miriam Margolyes is hitting the road.
Australia, here I come!
In search of what makes us Aussies tick.
So, of course, the ABC is now spending its money and time, your money and time, interviewing Margolyes to promote its series. And in a long interview on Radio National this morning, Fran did not even ask her about the Boris Johnson comments. Controversial, widely publicised comments about preferring a Conservative leader to die, and the ABC didn't even pose the question. Unbelievable stuff. Instead, the ABC just got her to bag Australia. Margolyes was invited to tell us why we don't really understand mateship.
Nowadays, mateship is not available to everybody. Depends who you are. And I think that kind of exclusion is not totally nice. That's not real mateship.
Who do you think gets excluded?
I think First Nation, Aboriginal people get excluded. Migrants get excluded. Poor people get excluded. If you're not like me, you're not my mate. You've got to be like me to be my mate.
So let's get this right. She's a POM, and as she tells us, she's Jewish, and she's also a lesbian, and she found an Australian partner and bought a house here and made lots of friends and became an Australian citizen and is paid by us to make a doco about us and our country in which she bags us for not being welcoming enough. Not being welcoming enough to people unless they're just like us. This is less plausible than most Harry Potter plots. It's just more of the clichéd, lowbrow, morally superior, identity politics on steroids drivel we constantly get from the ABC. $1 billion a year for a public broadcaster intent on dumbing down the nation and running down the nation. Sorry, Ita, it's pretty clear no one's in charge.